Hey,
Oh, this
Greg,
is,
Greg, can you mute everybody?
I can, yep.
no, don't do that. I'd rather have everybody jump in and make comments. 'Cause I'd
Okay.
like to share, I'd like to be able to share people's thoughts.
Yeah, but we get
Alright.
scared with parking dogs.
Yeah, when I hear that, I go find him and I mute him. So if I mute you, don't feel bad. It's nothing personal, but you were making noise and it seemed inadvertent.
I like dogs, but not in here, but everybody else is more than welcome to share.
All humans are welcome to ask questions, right, Rich?
Yeah, I don't think the dogs will. So
Okay,
anyway, so this is in Biloxi, Mississippi, and we were down there helping out with the hurricane. That's kind of why I put this in here. Because it was Hurricane Katrina, and here now we got another hurricane, so. And, okay. Let's see, next one. Let's see.
Rich, is that touched up or were those outhouses really that close to the railroad?
That was definitely touched up. The
Okay,
outhouses
good. Yeah, I
were
was gonna say.
way to the left.
Well, they did a good job because it looks like they're actually there, but
No, that was my son-in-law's handiwork.
all right, good job.
Good.
Not very level either, which is a problem.
That's right. Oh, those two people they were good natured about that whole thing there. And of course, this is my Sunday morning operating crew. And so, and I tried to get them to ask the head dispatcher if they could help out a little bit, but he was busy on Sunday morning.
You got 6 women to 1 cup of coffee there. That could be a problem.
You know, you hear all these stories about nuns whacking people over the knuckles with rulers, but these gals here were that was not the issue with them. They were just delightful. One of them was was in charge of student teachers, and her name was Sister Marcolette, and I kept telling the student teachers, I said, it's not Marcolette, it's Narcolette, and so be careful what you tell them. And they seemed to like it, so they finally heard my little comment. There's excuse me, a little cottage that's near my family's cottage up in Door County, Wisconsin, right on Lake Michigan. And this was scratch built. All the logs I glued to an armature, and then stained the logs, put plaster. Let me see. This is all plaster right here, carved to the the way it was in real life. This is the foundation was plaster, but this is all the chinking was plaster, and then just kind of carved with a number 11 X-Acto blade to kind of nestle the chinking in here. And this is also birch twigs carved and glued to an armature in here. So, and here's the main. I used a lot of plaster. I gave a talk to the NMRA here in Manitowoc one time, and I think Naperville, and the title was "How to Get Plastered." And I had an empty bottle of brandy, and they said, "This is how we do it in Wisconsin." So
That's what the nuns were there for?
yes, they did. You know, they deliver the sacramental brandy. So I don't know. These boards here, I wonder how many people know what they were. It took me about a year to kind of get in with the people that had this farm. And this was so if a cow came walking up here, leaned on the boards, they wouldn't break through the windows here. So it's kind of a like a safety measure for the cows and the contents in here. So And this, and the silo here was just a solid chunk of ply or wood, pine carved and cut down to the shape, and then all these boards were just simply glued and stained on here. And this is also plaster. And once once all the siding was on there, I kind of shaved it down, or kind of let's see, just took sandpaper and reduced the size of that, and then just stained it. Oops. And this is the Niagara Escarpment, and the plaster was smeared on here and then just carved and then stained. And the stain was kind of a yellowish brown, which was just what the like along the Niagara Escarpment, which I think, like not only am I sitting on the Niagara Escarpment, but I believe the people, you guys from Michigan, are on the same same Cuesta. This is a feed mill in Cleveland, and this is obviously it's not done yet, but this gentleman over here owns this feed mill, and he would bring home a sack of like 100-pound sack of feed that he swept up, and then the guys in the tavern across the way here would they had all bet to see how long he could stand there with that 100-pound sack of feed on his back. But that was the like there were a lot of jokers in Cleveland. Like a lot of the farmers would come in and they would have a beer at lunchtime and then go home and then finish up their work. But it was not a nighttime tavern that they would patronize. This is Cato, and Cato, Wisconsin, just west of Manitowoc, and they rather than going through all the like all the pains to get everything in here, I just simply took a picture of it and put it on a piece of cardboard. And this engine right here is a Challenge. I'm not sure, but it was a piece of change when I got it. But luckily at the time I was working for the railroad part-time, and I had enough money built up that I could afford to do that. This is in Forest City, Iowa. And I don't know if that line still exists or not, but I know the Rock Island doesn't, but I don't know if this, like these tracks are still there. Forest City again. Forest City, this is seeing at the M and St. L is what this was. I'd always peer in the window here, and there was all kinds of like red lanterns sitting there, and then plus paperwork. But I thought, man, no way am I gonna infringe on that. And the people at the age that never seemed to be around when I was not in class. Forest City again. I was a newspaper and yearbook photographer, so I was able to knock off a bunch of pictures and then print them in the school's darkroom.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that really frosts my cake is so somebody donated a whole bunch of glass plate negatives to the school so they could use those in in the science lab, and did I go there and check them out to see if they're railroad ones? Because they would have had to have been older than the hills. Now these are from negatives that I had gotten from a friend of mine, and he had gotten them from the newspaper. When the newspaper photographer retired, he gave these file cabinets to my friend. Yeah, boy, there were just tons of, and my friend went through there and kind of cherry picked all the railroad ones for me. Then I took them over to the Sioux Line Historical Society, and they were able to kind of go through there and make not prints, but kind of scan the negatives so that they were, like usable. This is the last train from Manitowoc to Kaukauna. The last train from Manitowoc to Kaukauna. And there was a employee, a CNW employee that was disgruntled, to put it mildly, with the railroad, and ran this engine and 3 cars from Manitowoc Yard into the river in Two Rivers. And they're some of the cars that I think there are 2 more in the picture, or somewhere else in the picture, and they because they had been loaded with pressure cookers for Admiral aluminum for Colonel Sanders, the cars actually floated. But this is my opportunity to be a wise guy, and I'm going to take a couple of Athearn cars and cut the roof off and just set the roofs in the river as if they were floating, which would be a great opportunity to, conversation. And here's one of the cars being extracted. That little tea kettles in Manitowoc. This was, I don't know where I got this picture, but it wasn't with the newspaper. This is from the State of Wisconsin Historical Society in Two Rivers. And this is no doubt loaded with like refrigerators from Hamilton Industries at Two Rivers. This is in the Manitowoc Yard somewhere. Parts of 1385. I don't know if this got back onto the rebuild or what, but kind of fun to see. This is in North Freedom.
Mhm.
I guess they're working on 175 too. I just saw pictures of that on the internet. Now this is Highway 10 between Manitowoc and Appleton. And shortly after this, I drew 2 yellow lines on here for no passing. Well, I think somebody last time with the Zoom group said that they didn't you at this point in time did not use the yellow lines. They just left it like this. And this is a police car that commemorates my son-in-law, who's a city officer here in Manitowoc. This is excuse me, this is the yard that in Manitowoc, and the car ferries would have been over, the Sioux Line car ferry would have been over here, and these are big storage sheds, and this is a long time ago. I don't know, these cars are not only is this a steam engine, but these cars are older than I know what, what they are. Fan trip. This is a fan trip on the CB and Q. And now this locomotive is in Arizona.
Mhm.
And here's the grand old lady of the CB and Q. And unfortunately, she was unceremoniously cut up. Now, this is kind of an interesting picture here because does anybody have any idea what's wrong with this situation here? Here's a 12-year-old boy who's taking pictures up on top of a covered hopper car. And there's all kinds of officials down here. And this guy looks like he's got a suit on. And I'll tell you what are the chances of a kid nowadays climbing on a covered hopper like this and getting away with it, not even attracting a little bit of attention from the officials. This was the fan trip. Excuse me, it was a fan trip, but it was the wave freight fan trip. Boy, what a time that was.
Mm.
And good old 32. This is in Quincy, Illinois, I believe. I wish I had waited just a tad longer, but this was a trip out to Colorado. And this is when we were on our way back, and boy, that engine picked them up and set them down. Boy, they were moving. The oil tanker in Sturgeon Bay. I don't know if that thing is still working or not, but here's another, this is a shot of the Manitowoc submarine, the Cobia, and an ore boat, or not an ore boat, but a boat that's unloading grain for the for Anheuser-Busch. Manitowoc looking south. I was asked to go take a picture of 360-degree image of Manitowoc from on top the Anheuser-Busch towers. So and then I've got another one somewhere. I was disappointed that the car ferry wasn't docked at that time. Arthur Atkinson, which is no longer with us, but you can see how this is the gimbal right here. Indicates the angle, and I don't know what angle, like when everybody starts to panic when this thing the gimbal gets too far over. I used to work for the Brilliant and Forest Junction Railroad. Boy, was I happy to see that. Took 2 trips before I was able to get a picture of that, and it was in kind of just a little north of Chicago or south of Chicago. This is one of the towns I'm doing downstairs. There's a quarry, limestone quarry over here, and obviously a lot of activity a long time ago. This is coming up from the car ferry in Manitowoc. So because she was working pretty hard at that time of day. Ouch. Notice all the hard hats and the safety boots and all the safety gear. Boy, what a time is different. It's so different. Here's the tender right here. This is also part of the newspaper negatives that I was lucky enough to copy. This is the main line after 1911 and before 1911. This track here, the main line, wrapped around into town, back out, and then out this way towards Kaukauna and Appleton. But prior to 1911, this was the main line here and the passing siding over here. But that was neat, kind of a neat feature with the spouts on both sides. And then here's the throw rods for switches and things and signals like up here. I think Ron had, or somebody had a picture of a copy of this one here. And obviously they're not using the cars anymore. So like later this week, I'm gonna go on over and take a picture of the building, exactly how it is, minus the cars, so we can get some more detail. This is a train that ran from Manitowoc all the way to Two Rivers. And you can see the telltales down here, and undoubtedly there's and over here, and probably over here. This is the maintenance shed. This is for the track workers. Downtown Chicago, 400 West Madison. I'm not sure when the C&O ran, like started working out of here, as opposed to LaSalle Street Depot. And here's another shot of the same train at a different time. This is the Bell Tower. This is all gone now, but and the throw rods were here. Yeah, these guys didn't flinch. Like my presence and my friend Bob Strand's presence didn't attract any concern on their part. Interestingly enough, a few years later, when I was done with high school, I got to work with a crew like this out of the Val yard over here. There's the DeVal Tower, which would soon be taken down. This is the C&W's commuter line, and here's the freight line, which was shared by the Milwaukee Road. This is a yard that was repurposed as a repair facilities. This is these guys over here sat waiting for the yard master to tell them they could go, instead of waiting for them to get the message. They just giddy up and left, and then later on the yard master, you got permission to leave. Well, all the other train crews, they already left about an hour ago. They got tired of waiting. There's my friend Bruce Rogers from New Zealand. Cass Scenic Railroad. This guy used to be a coal miner. He didn't have much to say, but his partner over here, this gal right here, that woman loved this railroad. She loved doing this, and you could tell this was something that she really took pride in. I guess they would just about take the whole engine apart in the wintertime, polish it up and put it back together again. I was told that her husband didn't want to do this anymore, and gave her an ultimatum: it's either me or the railroad. And she said, "See you later, alligator. I love the railroad." scraping down the coal bunker. Man, what a place that is. Lynn and I took a Rhodes Scholar trip to here, to this railroad and the other scenic railroads in the area. It's just what a delight. Boy, they took good care of these engines here. Just beautiful. It was interesting, all the little lines of these lines here, and then they would measure the thickness of the boiler and write it on there. This is all kind of checkerboard. And this gentleman here was in charge of restoring this engine at another little short line. Like it was, and he retired the next day. The DeKalb switch engine. This is Cato, just west of Manitowoc. And this is like Milwaukee, Lakeshore, and Western, I believe, their style of building, because this one here is the same as the one in Cleveland. This design is the same as several other depots in the area. There's the same front or same design here for the the bay over here. This is Manitowoc. They've eliminated one of these, not only the boat, but they've eliminated one of the docks over here. So this is the only dock that's left, and it's being used up until about the 15th of October. This is Cleveland, back about 1870s plus. Obviously Cleveland, and this section goes this way. This is section 9, and this is section 10. They have little posts over here, like here and here, with the number on it. This guy right here, his great nephew is in charge of Lakeshore Technical School, and that's where I got this picture. He says, "Hey, Rich, do you think you could use a picture like this?" Well, obviously, I think so. This is Cleveland. They were either loading or unloading a boxcar, wooden boxcar, and this is like a 2-foot gauge tram. This engine was originally Emmett St. L, but there was working in yard number 1 at Proviso. Shortly after this, the conductor that was shoving these cars into a track that was right over here, and for some reason the radio went on the fritz and it shoved a bunch of cars in the track and didn't stop in time and put a bunch of them on the ground. This is heading into Manitowoc. I've waited like for a picture to get, like with the water reflection here. So it's one of those things. And this is the train going, the same train going the other way. This is my buddy Dave Lockwood. He's gone now, but he was in charge of the Brilliant and Forest Junction. Cubs Field. There's a little 040 tanker down here. This is taken from the a tugboat that's on display in Sturgeon Bay. And boy, the people that are taking care of it, well, the thing is spit and polished. It's unbelievable. Can't think of the name of the depot. Coombres, I think it was Coombres. Chama. This was on a trip that I was lucky enough to get on back in 1966, I believe. And it was they call it the Journey to Yesterday with the Line A Railroad Club. Same trip, you can tell because this is real grand still. Come on. The helper right here. This is about 6 in the morning. One of the guys on the trip was aware that they were going to be cleaning out the boiler. This has got to be my favorite picture of all times. This is the Durango Roundhouse. Let me back it up one. I was out there with the Rhodes Scholar tour and peered through a window in the back of the roundhouse, and I thought, boy, it was so hard. The window was dirty and it was hard to see in there. Well, here's one of the workers sees me in there and he walks over and opens the window so he get a good shot, which I thought was very hospitable. The Durango car shop, such as it is. This is Forest Junction, Milwaukee Road passenger train coming in here. There's the depot here shared with the C&W that went this way. And here's their lumber shed. And so I thought, oh, this is too good to pass up. So I put that on, I drew that on the building that I built up. And here's the oil depot in Forest Junction. I don't know whose name is on there. Could be, look like brothers, or one of these days I'm going to talk to the oldest guy in town that's still left and see what he says. This is the main line through Cleveland, and they shorten up the passing siding. So I made sure I drew that because I was having a picnic with my family and drawing up this bridge here, and I thought, wait a second, there's a bunch of pilings here, and it looked, and then with not too much more investigating, I found these pilings and these other things. So, and then I put the ties down and then took a hacksaw and cut notches, like, but where the ties, the tie plates that are notched into the ties themselves.
We're
This
having
is-
trouble hearing you all of a sudden, Rich.
Oh, I'm sorry, because we worked on this. We discovered a fix it over here on the right side of the computer. Is that better? Can you hear me now?
That's better.
That's better? Okay, good. This is Francis Creek, better known as Francis Creek. in 1911 when they were putting in they were running the line from Manitowoc to Green Bay to shorten up the whole thing. And there was a gentleman that says, "Oh, hey, you and Don, come on over. I'm gonna." And he shared this picture that. So I modeled that bridge right here, and there was and this portal right here was designed for like cattle, and there was a barbed wire fence, and this would be for automobiles and not automobiles, horse and buggies and that sort of thing. And so I got a picture of the guy's farm or barn here, so that's in the background. This is Black Creek on the Wisconsin Central, and this is on the Green Bay and Western when I was coming back from Maryland. Well, I was so lucky to work for the Green Bay and Western. They were so hospitable. It's probably the most hospitable group of people I've ever worked with anywhere. Come on. Now what do they do?
Looks like you got into annotation mode. Maybe hit escape on your keyboard. See if that fixes it. No. See if you hit the arrow key if it advances.
Oh, come on. Don't do that. How about one of these up here?
Let's see. I'm gonna see if I can. I think that might be a Zoom thing. Let me see here.
Is this the Zoom whiteboard thing?
I don't know. I don't see how to get out of it.
How about if I just go to my other set of pictures?
Try it.
I don't know how to get out of here though. That's the only thing.
Hit Control Q. That might work. Or Control X. Or Alt E and then X. Trying to remember my Windows keyboard equivalents. Don't use Windows much anymore.
I'm about ready to throw this computer out the window.
Let's see here. Well, maybe if I turn off your sharing, maybe that'll. I'm going to turn off your share. Try sharing again. See if it changes. All right, try to share again, Rich. See what happens.
There we go.
Good.
Actually, my son-in-law is hunting. He's up bow and arrow hunting.
Ah,
Okay, where were we? This is Dresden, Germany. We were about to, through the center of Germany. Here's another shot of Germany, and there's the Rhine River over here. And boy, was it good One jump and that thing came sailing through. Wow. Because they're German railroad, you don't mess with them. When they go, the word go is, this is the, one of the cemetery, the Jewish cemetery in Berlin. There were thousands of these stones that commemorates like 10,000 people each. This is the depot in Berlin. We got on this and took this train to Frankfurt. I had a picture of Len in the window of one of these windows here, and it was just all the trees and things were just green, just blurred, and it looked like just a piece of carpet behind her. Going 600 miles an hour, not like 250 miles an hour. Uh-oh. What did we do before? Because now it's stopped. Oh, here we go. And here's the conductor out in the front there, kind of keeping an eye on things. They were fixing this bridge, the Wolf River Bridge. They had a hard hat diver that was fixing underwater here. And they had a little cement mixer here to kind of supply the concrete for the bridge restoration. Here earlier in the day, I got called on the carpet for taking pictures of the trains, and one of these engineers turned me into whoever it was that he turns it. And I told my boss, I said, you know what? Forget it. Don't even worry about it, because I'm going to still take pictures. And here's the sand and the cement for the bridge restoration. And here's a little cement mixer. So they had a hard hat diver, and I told it when we had our job briefing in the morning, I said, you got steel toe boot, steel toe work boots. And the diver understood that, but the other guys kind of looked like, the hell is he talking about? What a lovely place. Same place, but like at the crack of dawn. This is High Bridge in Manitowoc, and so I modeled from here back to here. And these are these stanchions here. I was lucky enough to talk to somebody that does 3D printing in Manitowoc, and I told him, I said I needed a bunch of these things, these stanchions here, because I tried scratch building them, but it was going to take forever. And he said, well, it'll cost you about $7.50 per stanchion. And I said, oh, well, forget it. I said, I need like 250. And he said, oh, forget it. Just, I'll do them and I'll let you know when I'm done. And this is kind of nice having this brass stock here to support this one, so that the handrail was all the same size. And then I took a fingernail clipper and trimmed off the excess. Coming up from the river, or coming up from the river, like the car ferry. Here's Manitowoc. Here's the depot, the second depot. There was another depot west of town, and then there was another depot that was right on the main line. The car ferries never built up any ice, because they were like the steam boiler kept the ship, or the boat rather, just warm enough that nothing ever, like the ice didn't collect on that. This is up in Sturgeon Bay. I just thought this was so cool, this big old boat. These ore boats were just about ready to be taken to Spain to be cut up and made into razor blades. I can't remember the name of the railroad, but it's in Chicago, and evidently it was the one of the most profitable railroads because it was just little short runs here, and there was a lot going on and not a lot of distance in between. Was it Merchant Junctions Railroad? And there's a roundhouse for maintenance facilities. And this went on all the time in Manitowoc. They'd shove some cars in, and then of course they didn't realize that, like how far they were going. This is in Maryland on the Green Bay of Western. Maryland on the Green Bay Western of the C&W. At the time, and here's the Maryland Depot, and at the time I was the only one that had a radio that could go back and forth with the Green Bay Western of the C&W. So I was assigned to this spot, which was perfect for taking pictures. And this is the end of the Green Bay and Western. This is like short time on the cut. Shortly thereafter, it was taken up, or not taken up, it's just discontinued. This is Maryland, not Maryland, this is Wisconsin Rapids. And here's the engineer, Frank Fitzgerald. The poor Frank, he was so proud of himself that he had never put cars on the ground. So what happens the last day that he was working before he retired? Man, did he tangle them up west of Green Bay. This is Schiller Park. Schiller Park again. I don't know what what's going on there now. I heard somewhere that they discontinued all this stuff at Schiller Park and just ran it straight through. This is Proviso, yard 9 over here, and this is the hump engine. This is Manitowoc from the air. Armstrong turntable, tank, various things, and then there was an oil right over here, like an oil tank farm, and there was a gentleman from my church that owned that, and we'd always go down there and take a look at that, and he'd reminisce about all these facilities here. This is St. Helens, Oregon. I rode my bicycle around Puget Sound back in 1972 before I moved to Manitowoc, and so excuse me, I went over and talked to these guys, and I said, could I get a ride from St. Helens into Portland, because I'm going to take Amtrak back to Chicago. And the guy that I talked to, he was grumble. Oh, there's the old man's not going to let you do that. He's short on time anyway. So I said, okay, never mind. Don't worry about it. Well, later on, the young guy left, the hind end brakeman, the head end brakeman, left back to go up by the head end. And then the conductor comes back, and I asked him, and he grumble. He said, wait a second, here's my lunch and here's my hat. You wave to the kids like I always do. And then when you get the hind end brakeman will tell you when to get off and go right around the front end. Well, we get into Portland, and excuse me, the head end brakeman, he looks down, he says, my God, you almost beat us into Portland. I said, well, you guys are just a little too quick for me. Well, here's the engine, all the various parentages or pedigrees. This was the tie-hack hut in northern Utah. And this was when they were cutting down all the trees for the ties for the Transcontinental Railroad. And there was like a whole village of these things. But I thought this would be a nifty little scene, you know, for somebody's model railroad that's, you know, doing that era. This is, we're heading west towards Stevens Point, and this picture would have generated crew saying all black meeting. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but if all black means that there's no sparks or no problems with the train. So this is a rear view mirror for the conductor on this side of the train. Here we are in Maryland, handing off our train to the West End crew, the engineer and the other like the West End engineer. They're just kind of trading back, you know, just talking about the train handling and that sort of thing. And this is the decrepit Green Bay and Western Maryland depot. Here's Manitowoc. And that's it. Well, I got more, but I think I'm right to the end of the time limit.
Yeah, well, very good, Rich. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
And yeah, if you've got more, we can do that another night.
Sure.
But thanks everybody for joining us. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you're thinking about going to the NCR Region 9, Division 9 of NCR, yeah, that's right, NCR Division 9 convention, that's at the end of the month, the 28th and 29th, and in conjunction with the Kalamazoo Model Railroad Show on Sunday, the 30th. So be sure to register for that if you're thinking about going. And if you're interested in presenting in an upcoming week, let Ron or I know. Thank you for your well wishes. I had COVID last week. It was quite unpleasant, but I'm all better now. And I got on Paxlovid, even though I'm not 65 and wasn't in any danger of being hospitalized, but they gave it to me anyway. And it worked great. So everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds
See ya.
good. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Right, you're
Thank you
feeling
much,
better.
Rich.